Now this evening, we're pleased to have a presentation by Ms. Patricia Gardner, Director of Teaching and Learning. Welcome. Ms. Gardner will be discussing the rollout of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education approved Accelerated Improvement Plan for the 2013-2014 school year. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening. We're very excited about the Advanced Improvement Plan. We've had a chance to work on it ourselves and to think about what the district needed, and with the help of the superintendent, we wanted to make it manageable, and so I think that that's something that we have been able to do. From the time that you received this plan until tonight, we made a quick change that it does go through 2015. We received an email this week from the DESE that said that the plan is approved as an 18-month plan. We have to make some changes for next year, a couple that I will talk about as we go through, but it is a plan that will go through 2015. I believe our deadline date, and I did not write it down, so I apologize, but I believe our date to make corrections or make changes that we want to make is August 11th. So we have some time to work on it, but this is the plan that we will build off of.
Ms. Gardner, could you just pull the mic a little closer to you?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I don't want to yell at anybody. As you can see, we have 4 AIP strategic objectives. Objective 1 is to develop, refine, and implement curricula for all K through 12 core subjects and instructional practices aligned to Common Core and WIDA standards. The second one, number 2, expand and embed the use of data K through 12 to foster a cycle of continuous improvement aimed at addressing and improving instructional practices throughout the district. Number 3, improve educator quality and ability to implement rigorous and engaging instruction. And number 4, increase parent and community involvement to enhance student learning. Objective 1, which I just read to you and I won't read to you again, we have been working on the entire year. So just because this plan was only recently approved, we have had these standards all year, and we've sort of played tug of war, I guess, with the DESE to get it approved. But for Objective 1, which is refining curriculum, we have had meetings all year, and we've established and we've revised the Southbridge Standard document. We're working on we've had an observation template for this entire year. Next year, we're going to make it more rigorous. But this year, we wanted teachers to get used to administrators and DESE staff being in their rooms, and I think we've done that. I go in classrooms now, and teachers keep teaching and students keep learning, so it's been a really positive experience, and I think that we have made a lot of improvements by watching instruction and giving detailed feedback about it. Also on this one, the IRSs, who are instructional research specialists, they have been working with both myself, Aaron Osborne, Patrick Jackman, who is a retired principal from Taunton, who is now working with the DESE sort of as a mentor to our administrators at the high school, and also Dr. Sally Dias, who's with us at our last school committee meeting. So we have people who have come in to give us a hand at some of the things that had not been done for a long time. At central office, I'm not going to say we're short-staffed in a bad way. I think we have the right people to get the work done, but we don't have the number of people that other schools might have when they're larger and they have larger staff. So we've really welcomed this, and it's been a great experience. And I can tell you that we changed plan managers this year, and I have to really thank the superintendent for making that happen. We had a plan manager who was not helpful to where Southbridge was going, and they offered us 3 names of individuals who were possible plan managers for us, and Buzz recognized one of them, and it's Dr. Sally Dias, and we sort of grabbed her, and she's made a huge difference in where this plan is going. We sort of floundered a little because as a DESE will sometimes, they don't exactly tell you all the rules as you're going. So it's been a great experience to have Sally and to get our plan accepted, because the work of education in this district has happened all year. Objective 2, which is expanding and embed the use of data, is something that we've also worked on this year. We've had ANET, which, as some of you questioned last night, is not a perfect science of a data system, but it has given us something to look at. It's put us in a network that we can judge ourselves against, and it's also given us standards that we can judge and standards that we can reteach. On the middle school level, we've started an intervention period, E-block, where we take a look at these standards, and we've really focused on math, and we think that we're going to get a lot of bang for the buck in it as we look at test scores as we move forward. Also in this one, we have established meetings of data teams, and on these data teams, we have a couple of ways that we're doing it. This year, we established an instructional leadership team, which is a number of teachers from all curriculum areas, all content areas, who meet about every 6 weeks with focus on results, who also look at ANET data, and schools have data teams also that work weekly, especially in the elementary schools. They're working weekly. If you walk through our schools, you will see all sorts of data up and all sorts of progress that you see in our schools. So data has become embedded, and we're really working on MCAS scores, but not just scores. We're working on student learning. Scores don't mean very much if they don't have anything behind them, so we're teaching skills, and we're improving student skills, and we're improving student thinking, which will improve those scores as well. Objective 3, which is improving quality, improving educator quality and ability to implement rigorous and engaging instruction. We have worked on this very much this year with teachers through walkthroughs, through the work with focus on results, and this instructional leadership team that meets about every 6 weeks. We tied that in with our professional days that happen as well, so they come about a week and a half before the professional day. So we've created a train-the-trainer model. So these teachers go for focus on results. They also look at ANET data, and so for the week and a half later when we had our professional days, these teachers and their administrators went and led the professional development in their school. So in this way, we were able to deliver the same message about what we're doing in this district to every teacher and para in our district, and we think that's pretty powerful. Objective 4, which is to increase parent and community involvement to enhance student learning. This is something that our elementary schools do extremely well with their math nights and their game nights and parent nights. And elementary schools, everywhere I've ever worked in a 29-year career, elementary schools get the parents, and for some reason when kids hit middle school, we start losing parents, but we need parents at the middle school and high school level. But this year at the high school, we have increased it. We had acronym mania earlier in the year, and it was for the entire district, but again, you know, we're getting the elementary outreach, but we've done a number of things at the high school to try to get parents in. Even the parent forum for the principal brought in some parents, not the number we want, but we're greatly trying to increase this in all of our schools. So this is a quick oversight of what the plan is. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer those as best I can, but as I said, we picked 4 standards, and they're 4 doable standards. They're standards that we are going to roll out within the next few weeks, either at the last faculty meeting of the year for our schools, or either it will have to be a non-mandatory meeting, but we would certainly hope that teachers would attend. And one of the reasons that it's taken us a little longer, we're working on this rollout with IRSs. We want to take a look at what this will look at, when you take a look at it, what it's going to mean for each individual school, not just for our district. I mean, obviously the whole picture is our district, but we want each school to understand, because as we look at data and as we embed this data, each school is different, and we can't look at them as exactly the same. So we want the people in those schools who know that school the best, the administrators, the IRSs, the instructional leadership team, and the teachers, we want them to understand what we're doing. Not just a document that we're handing out, that we're giving them, that's just something that's been passed down to them to look at and do, but we want ownership of it.
Thank you. Are there any questions this side, comments, questions this side? Mrs.
Through you,
Conley?
Madam Chair. Just for the public, could we just explain what the WIDA standards are? Excuse me.
The WIDA standards are very new. They're the ELL standards, and I am sorry I can't speak to them individually. Until about a year and a half ago, there were categories of special education students, and now it's being done quite differently, and hopefully it's going to improve the scores of all students, not just here, but in the Commonwealth. I mean, if you take a look at data in the Commonwealth, our struggling students are ELL, and they're SPED, and they're lower income, and so they're standards that make more sense in the categories. And I'm sorry, I can't speak to them much more than that right now, but we can certainly come back to that.
Thank you. Or just, just to clarify, just to explain what WIDA is.
I cannot remember the acronym. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Just more of a comment too. I just think this is a great starting point from a school committee perspective with the Accelerated Improvement Plan. Through our training, we were told that we need to use the Accelerated Improvement Plan to create goals as well as a superintendent and evaluation tool. So this is great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. On this side, Mrs. Donovan?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Pat, one of my questions was, will we have Sally Dias with us for the entire 18-month of duration of the plan, or is her role going to change as we move along in the plan?
She has agreed to stay with us. She likes Southbridge. She likes our students. She likes our teachers. And she even said last week, she said, you know, she's been retired for a number of years. She had a long career and successful career as a superintendent, as a science teacher, and she said, which made me feel really good, she's reached a point in her career where she does not have to work, and she does not have to work where she doesn't want to work. And so she wants to be with us.
That's great news. I've met her, and she's a very classy lady and very smart, and I think she's a great asset to have for us, so I'm glad to hear that. I really didn't know what her status was. The other question I had was, I know that this improvement plan is newly accepted, so I didn't know when and how it was going to be rolled out to faculty and staff.
As I said, we're going to roll it out before the end of this school year. I mean, obviously next year we're going to get more into the nuts and bolts of it and what collecting data looks like. But we've already had one data collecting period with it. And as I said, Sally Dias was extremely pleased with what she saw and was able to get great data for us to put into it. So we want to roll it out so people get to see a little bit more of what it is and a little bit of the data that we've collected from each school, because we've asked the IRSs and some members of the ILT team to start collecting certain things like agendas and notes from meetings to show what a data team meeting looks like. We're also looking at feedback that we give teachers. That's going to go in as well. And we're also looking at what we're doing for ELL. Aaron Osborne and Colleen Culligan have sort of took the lead on ELL because it is a huge program and it's something that we really need. But we're looking at that data as well, and this plan has made us rethink how we're going to look at it across the district next year with tutors and some additional people, you know, in working with students in ELL and SPED as well. But, you know, we definitely want to get it rolled out. We want people to know what it is and start hearing about it. And the fall will really be the implementation.
Okay. I have just two comments. My first is it's great to see that the focus is on learning, because that's why we're here, based kind of like Rosa was saying. So it's good that we have a set focus, and that is what it is. And what was my other comment? Oh, my other comment was, it was something that you just mentioned, and it made me think. I think that we're so not overly, but we're just so involved with the whole data collection process, and we're always looking for data from the kids. But I think it's equally important for the Department of Ed to receive data from our DLT people and our ILT people to show that we or our teams are in fact doing what they're supposed to do and have the data to support that you are actively pursuing these objectives and actively making them happen. So I'm glad to hear that it's a two-way street. It's all about data, but it really is important for us to turn in our data, so to speak, so that they know that we're all working hard towards this.
Right, and actually on Wednesday we're meeting with all of the principals and we're looking at data dashboards, which is really just a collection format that makes it easy for principals to take a look at the data in their school. So it will have ANAT data on it and the different testing periods that we do every year. We will have MCAS data on it, and we're going to start looking more at individual. As you know, I believe we've said here, this year we started an algebra benchmark test that had not been in the district before. Next year we're going to do geometry. We're kind of having to take bits and pieces of it because we want to make sure that we do it right. We're also really revving up and ramping up the curriculum maps that have been done here. There were some, but they had a lot of holes in them, and they had a lot of pieces that weren't current. They weren't, as a whole, they weren't aligned with Common Core. And so again, because of the expertise I think that the superintendent has brought here, Sally brought in another person that she found that she's convinced the DESC to spend some money on. So Dr. Annette Stavros, who is a former curriculum director from Watertown, is going to help us this summer lead some of that training.
That's great.
And she came last week, and she was absolutely wonderful. And again, she's a woman who came and said, I don't need to work, but I had a great day here, and I'll come back. So, you know, that just makes you feel really good about working here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Pat. I'm all set, Lauren. Madam Chair, thank you.
Mrs. Quinney?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Ms. Gardner. Congratulations on getting a plan approved. We heard that that was no easy task last meeting. I had some questions regarding Objective 4, increasing parent and community involvement to enhance student learning. How, I understand we're measuring parent involvement based on how often parents are coming into the building. Is there any program or way that we're looking at how parents are involved at home in their kids' education and that level of involvement? I know a lot of times it's hard for parents to get in, but that doesn't mean that they're not involved in their kids' education at home. Are we trying to figure out how we can quantify that in any way, shape, or form at this time?
Well, I think something that we added this year that we're going to sit and look at when school is out is we added logs for teachers for their communications logs. So that's one thing that we did this year. We've been looking at them. We've been checking them because, you know, what gets checked gets done. So I think especially for the high school and middle school, I mean, the majority of our elementary teachers have called home, and you know, across schools everywhere, elementary teachers tend to communicate better. I was a high school teacher, and you know, I really tried to make phone calls home, but sometimes, you know, you look out and you think that you have some pretty big kids in front of you, but they are still somebody's baby. So I think that especially in high school and middle school, that's something that we have worked very hard on, and that's something next year that we even want to take to another level of what this looks like and who's getting phone calls and what they're getting phone calls home for. We want good phone calls to start going home, not just the phone calls that your child's not doing something right. I think in a community sometimes of lower income, you find parents who weren't successful in schools themselves. And I mean, we have some highly successful parents, obviously, but you know, oftentimes if you're a parent and you didn't have success in school and you don't trust school because of experience you may have had, it makes coming in harder. We want parents to know and the community to know that they are welcome to come see our schools, to walk through our schools, and we're hoping that by being transparent and sincerely wanting people to come see what's going on, that they'll feel more comfortable coming and that we can get more people to our events to come see their children perform. And I also think that something that we have to do a better job of is when we have events, and I'd like to thank you, I think that you have done a fantastic job this year of bringing students in, not just announcing that we've had award winners or that our chorus did well or our band did well, but that you actually bring them here, because I don't believe a student has been here to receive an award who was not with several family members. And so I think that, you know, we all work together, and I think that we've had a good start, so we certainly want to build on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you
Can
very
I?
much. Yes, please.
All right, so Pat briefly mentioned acronymania, and I started that when I came here because as you work in different states, all groups have a technical language that they try to hide from the general public, and education seems to have really worked hard at it, so we have more acronyms than you can shake a stick at. I mean, we talk about SPED, we talk about this, WIDA, retail, ESL, ELL, and so on. So what the consortium of states have done, they got together and said that as this country becomes more diverse, there are more different cultures and speakers of languages other than the dominant English language. How do we go about integrating and bringing all of those folks in a multi-state approach rather than letting each state develop ELL programs, English language learner programs, ESL, English the second language programs, all of those things. So they put together this consortium and they gave it the acronym WIDA. And what WIDA stands for is World-Class Instructional Design and Assessment. I'd like to know what world-class standards are, lots of things, okay? And we constantly get information about retail, and that's rethinking equity and teaching of English language learners. And so, but the real issue comes down to how well do we integrate kids from different countries, backgrounds, and cultures into our school? How much of an emphasis do we put on their acquiring language in more than just academic English, but also the social, cultural context that they have to be able to interact with their peers in the community and so on. And that's hard work. No one's ever really done that as a group. It's just been, my own experience when I came to this country. I sat in the back of the room and smiled for 2 years, and until I started learning. So since our two areas of major gaps in performance are in SPED, special education, and English language learners, obviously the accelerated improvement plan has to reflect that need. And if you look at our gap is very, very large. And we've not really had a coordinated program to address second language learners in the school system, for lots of different reasons, and I'm not going to go into those. So now what we have is we've reorganized and restructured. We have a very good coordinator that we had at the high school, and I know one of the goals of this year's budget for next year is to increase the leadership time allotted to that department, so as the population becomes more diverse and more kids come in with needs, we need to figure out where they are, who they are, what languages they need, and how are we going to develop a program for those kids in ways that make the best sense so they can become part of the community in the shortest possible time. So, and there have been, and I can talk for hours on this particular subject, and I don't intend to because I'll start coughing. And, but this has been an issue that people have developed little pockets, and some work, some don't. And bilingual education is another one of the examples. People take emotional stances on it rather than clearly well thought out educational reasons based upon the needs of the kids and the capacity of the community to provide that kind of a program. So we are at step one. We are now analyzing what we have, who we have, and what is our capacity to be able to address this. It hasn't been good because no one's ever really figured out who we have. And after you figure out who you have, you've got to figure out what you need. And so that's basically a job that administrators have not put on the front burner because people who don't speak the language, aren't comfortable with the culture, don't complain. That's just simple as that. So the squeaky wheel isn't there. So it becomes incumbent upon good people to say, hey, if these kids need help, we want them to be productive citizens, and so on. So, and the whole idea of certain parts of this community that nobody helped me when I came, they don't like it, they can go back to where they came from. And the old bootstrap theory, I made it, sink or swim. It doesn't work today, especially when you have more than 50% of your population of different backgrounds. You know, and I guess it's a credit to the school system that we're addressing this. And also the federal government and the various states have gotten together and said, okay, we can't continue addressing it in ways that we let districts make those kinds of decisions. So there's now standards, they're training people in it. But it's another one of those unfunded mandates. That's what upsets me because, Southbridge has a significant Spanish-speaking population. And with the situation that's occurring in Puerto Rico financially and so on, we had already this year an increase in the number of kids that came here with no English background. And we just kind of did the best we could. So now we're going to make an effort this summer, look at what we have, analyze what our needs, train teachers. The law already requires what's called sheltered English immersion. So all the teachers are supposed to be trained if they have any number of kids from different backgrounds. And oftentimes when I was superintendent in Brockton, we had a Cape Verdean Creole, a Haitian Creole, and a number of Spanish-speaking kids from different countries. They're not all homogeneous groups. He's a Spanish speaker. Well, that kid could be from Argentina, could be from Costa Rica, could be from Puerto Rico. They all have different backgrounds, different dialects, and so on. And I think that's, here it's a little bit simpler. In Brockton, I had 45 different languages we had teach-ins. But we have fewer resources here. So now we have to be smarter with how we use our resources to address that particular segment. So I'm confident that with Pat's leadership and how we're starting to organize the system, that we will make a clear, organized, concerted effort to get those kids to succeed. And then the other thing we have to do is get the adults to say, hey, these kids are as good as anybody else. See, that's a problem, because they say, I mean, I'm not going to go into this, but too often you hear those people. Okay, and that's a repugnant statement to me when they say those people, as if they don't belong here. Like I was reading a little story the other day in a grocery store in the Southwest. There was a lady speaking to her associate in a different language. The older guy in front of her turned around and said, "You're in America, speak English." And the lady turned around, looked at him and says, "I'm speaking Navajo. Why don't you go home?" So that struck me particularly, because sometimes we forget who the interlopers are. So, and I won't wear my wife won't allow me to wear my Homeland Defense shirt, which is Cochise and the boys. So. Anyway, but I think that's important to know that what it is, and acronyms will kill us. And I'm sitting here thinking, it took me the longest time to start trying to, when I came to Massachusetts, they have all different acronyms here. The one that killed me wasn't even an acronym. Do you have the cherry sheet? I had no idea what a cherry sheet was. So thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.